liberal identity politics, and I'm specifying liberal identity politics for a reason here, but because liberal identity politics blur the realities that allow us to see the world from an internationalist perspective. You know, so for the example, the idea pushed on us during the 2016 election that poor women and women of color should be voting for Hillary Clinton because Hillary Clinton is a woman, where realistically Hillary Clinton spent 2 decades encouraging economic policies that have led to a decrease in the well-being of poor women all over the world. And yet, you know, both Hillary Clinton, you know, and this is, I mean, even Bernie Sanders, you know, very much takes a nationalist economic approach. You know, the protectionist idea that we have to act in what's best specifically for Americans, and you know, and Bernie doesn't do this as much as, you know, liberal identity politics does, but it goes out of its way to blur class lines. Where, so, you know, realistically, me as a working class female-bodied person, the idea that I have more in common with Hillary Clinton than I do with the poor women who Hillary Clinton's free trade policies have screwed over for 2 decades is absurd. But, you know, it is in the interest of both the Democratic Party and the neoliberal project for me to think that I should be embracing an identity politics where Hillary Clinton will have my best interests at heart. Where realistically, Hillary Clinton is not have my best interests in heart. And, you know, if I want to fight for a better world, it's much better for me to be allied with the needs and interests of working women all over the world, which are interests that are in complete opposition to the policies that Hillary Clinton has tried to promote over her entire career and the career of her husband.
Precisely. Yeah, that's why internationalism is important. That's why governments have always been afraid of that. And in a way, liberal identity politics has been used as a wedge issue to keep that solidarity from occurring across national boundaries, across the world, and also to prevent people from seeing that they have as much in common with other poor people across the world than they have much more in common than they do with their leaders. And this brings us to the way that fascism particularly has been able to kind of manipulate some of these specific gripes. A good example, if we look at, you know, the average people in a small town in the United States who have just lost all of their jobs because that last factory left, and that factory is now in India or wherever. They can either blame the factory owner, and that factory owner is probably part of an international corporation, and say, hey, that's your fault that you moved that. You should not have moved our work, you know, somewhere else. Or they can blame the people in India who now have that job. The decision on who they end up blaming has a lot more to do with propaganda than it does actually on anything of their own personal interests. They have as much interest in local self-government as the people in India who now have that factory, whose land just got destroyed for that. Their forest just got destroyed in order to build a new factory. New laws just came in preventing them from doing things or whatever, or having freedoms, or they've lost their local labor customs in order to accommodate this new factory. Those two people groups are connected, and they both have legitimate interests, and their legitimate gripes are against capital. Unfortunately, through the talk of globalism, as it were, the failure of the left to really address globalization, and through many nationalist, fascist propaganda engines, those people end up blaming each other for the problem.
Empires Crumble.
A podcast on politics, culture, history, and magic.
With Ali Valkyrie
and Rhyd Wildermuth.